What's up, Twins fans? This is the biggest month of the season. It's unfortunate that it turned out this way. None of us would have liked this to be the case, that July is the biggest month of the season for this team, but it is. The trade deadline, obviously, at the forefront of everybody's mind. But the draft is this month as well. We're not going to really get into the draft in this video, but I am going to be talking about that coming up here and definitely talking about some of the picks after they're made, especially. But let's talk about the trade deadline. I wrote this piece at Twins Daily, published this morning. Will this market work against the Twins' agenda? This came from a bit of a negative space. I'll admit I pointed out some things that I was concerned about, but also pointed out that part of this article might be influenced by what I'm referring to as 2021 Twins brain. That is a disorder brought on by previous trauma in which you automatically assume any possible scenario will work out poorly for the Twins. I think it's been very easy to catch 2021 Twins brain. If you've watched much of the club and suffered through this season, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So go check that out at Twins Daily and see the points that I'm making there. However, taking a look at this article on MLB.com by Mark Feinsand, the one trade every contender needs to make, I feel a little bit better. And we'll talk about why here. There's a lot of Twins players on this list that Mark put together on guys that contenders are going to be targeting. So we can see right from the image here, Nelson Cruz and Taylor Rogers are right on the front. Nelson Cruz hitting like we would expect him to hitting like the ageless wonder that he is. Expect American League teams to be after him. Taylor Rogers, everybody could use a Taylor Rogers. So not at all surprised that he would be somebody listed, but let's go through the Twins on this list here. And again, this is available at MLB.com. I'll put a link for this in the description as well. So speaking of Rogers, the first Twin to appear on this list is Taylor Rogers, and the potential fit there, he's with the Astros. We're looking for relief help. This sounds like a familiar story. Ryan Presley mentioned in the article. That would be quite a 1-2 punch there. That club, that's a really good team. That's a really deep team. But this is a good call. They could really use another dependable bullpen arm, the Astros. Again, who couldn't? Taylor Rogers, if the Twins make him available, he's going to have a very wide market. This Twins bullpen has been terrible, and Taylor Rogers does have another year of team control. So the Twins shouldn't feel exactly motivated to move Taylor Rogers. They should get a very good package. They should be demanding a lot for Taylor Rogers because, again, his market is going to be very wide. Every team in baseball pretty much would love an upgraded left-handed relief pitcher. And again, the Twins don't really have a lot of motivation to move him necessarily if they're going to try to compete again in 2022. All right, next guy to come up again is Cruz, and he's got him going back to Seattle. That would be kind of a fun thing to see. He was really beloved in Seattle, had a great run there. That was the team he was with prior to coming to Minnesota. And so Nelson Cruz to the Mariners. The Mariners always seem like a team that's kind of offensively challenged. They have some good young players establishing themselves this year. Good pitching, but fighting in the wild card position right now in the American League. Get Jerry DiPoto, who's sort of this trade wizard, is mentioned here. I don't know that Seattle's going to be necessarily going all in on like a big trade, so to try to push themselves over the top. So that's another thing where this could fit in too, because the top prospects are mentioned: Jared Kelenic and Julio Rodriguez. They're not going to want to be blocking any of these bats, any of these prospects from potential long-term roles. So Nelson Cruz kind of fits as a perfect, you bring him in for a half season here. He's a guy who's very familiar with Seattle, and he's not going to gum up any of your long-term plans with any of your prospects, but he's going to be an immediate and dramatic upgrade to that lineup. So definitely feeling the logic there. Next guy up, Jose Berrios. Man, it's hard. It's hard for me to think about trading this guy. Another guy that the Twins shouldn't really feel motivated to move. Another guy who has beyond this year of team control. So if the Twins are planning on being competitive next year, hoping for it, you don't want to see them trade Jose Berrios. But the Mets are thrown out here as, and this is, these aren't necessarily rumored, spots like the Seattle and Houston ones, but Berrios and the New York Mets, there has been kind of some whispers that those discussions are happening, at least internally and with New York. And, again, just like Rogers, Berrios is a guy who would be an upgrade to any rotation. And the Mets with some injuries, they could use another arm behind, DeGrom, Stroman, and Walker. Taijuan Walker's having an excellent year. But as mentioned in this article, Carlos Carrasco and Noah Syndergaard have not pitched this year. Both of those guys kind of should have been backed by now, or at least ramping up. And Carlos Carrasco, especially mysterious on his rehab. And he's the guy who's getting up there in age as well. So that could be a factor and a concern about that team. But with Berrios, man, I would expect just a mountain of prospect wealth to be coming back in a trade, and the Twins really need pitching, so I would really hope to see a very nice pitching package coming back from him. Because again, they don't have much motivation to trade Jose Berrios. The Mets should want Berrios much more than the Twins should want to give him up, that's for sure. So those other ones are pretty expected. This one I did not see coming. I did not expect Jhap to make this list. Jhap is a potential fit listed for the Dodgers. I mean, it's hard to remember that Jhap has been a pretty reliable starting pitcher up until now. And you know what? He's had some flashes with the Twins here in 2021, but certainly feels more like a guy that the Twins might just cut rather than trade for. And honestly, if they can get anything for Jhap, I would consider that a victory. If I hear Jhap gets traded, I'll say great trade. Who'd they get? One of those deals. There would be zero expectations on a return for that. But I could see where a contending team that's, just looking for innings, looking for a guy who's been around, a veteran guy who may even be, a good clubhouse presence on a contender. So yeah, I mean, that's, there's no Dodger fans that are going to be clamoring for Jhap, but I could see it making sense. And then boom, right down after the Dodgers, we see the Padres and Michael Pineda. And you'd see hey, let's get a bidding war going between these two NL West contenders. We got Pineda and Happ. Pineda goes to the highest bidder. Who's going to give the best package? Not that I'd expect a lot from Michael Pineda either. Both these guys are on expiring deals. Pineda came back today. Didn't look very good in his return from the injured list. But the biggest thing right now with the Twins out of contention is that he made it through and is healthy. So, obviously we'll hope that he pitches better in his next outing and builds some more trade value. But really, first time back out, get him through, don't have any setbacks in terms of injuries, and I was happy with that. So he's listed here as someone who could help the San Diego Padres. They've got a really good rotation, but there are innings concerns. I mean, that is the thing. I wrote about that in that article that I referenced, that every team is not really feeling great about covering innings. And something to keep in mind, I wrote this in that article as well, is that there is not a waiver trade period. The July 30th trade deadline is the only trade deadline now. It used to be you could do waiver trades through the end of August. It was a little bit more difficult to pull those off, but you could reasonably expect to grab somebody like a Jhap. If your team, all of a sudden had an injury, you just need another arm. You could pull off a trade like that. That's no more. That trade deadline is gone. There's only the July 30th trade deadline. So a guy like Michael Pineda, a guy like Jhap, that's where their value is, in that helping a team feel more secure that they have coverage. And certainly could see Michael Pineda being a guy for the Padres to help them with that. So that was all the guys that made that list. Again, that's, and he was only picking one guy for every team. You could see the market being, if Michael Pineda starts to look good, being a little wider. And there's other guys in the Twins that are definitely going to have interest. Hansel Robles, one of them, certainly. So yeah, again, check that out. I thought that was an interesting article. Again, go ahead and read about my thoughts on the market and concerned about how this may be working against the Twins. Basically, I feel like the stuff that the Twins want is the stuff that nobody's going to want to give up, essentially. But again, maybe that's just the negative 2021 Twins vibes going in. As always, check out Twins Daily. As always, thanks for watching. This has been Tom Froming. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing for more Twins talk here on YouTube. Thank you.